All right, you should be good to go.
All right, we are going to start with a video that shows many different settings for pharmacy as far as what pharmacists do, the roles they play, and it shows them in many different settings. This video, I will admit, is about 10 years old now, so you can snicker a bit at the hairstyles and clothes, and then at the end we'll tell you what's different since this video was made.
TV studio to produce a program about career opportunities that provide a good salary, job security, and are respected in the community.
Something that only a small number of actors ever achieve in the TV and movie business.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Hi, I'm Noemi Del Rio.
And I'm Robin Taylor. Thinking about your future? Well, the closer you get to college, the more people start asking questions.
You know, what colleges are you thinking about? What do you want to major in? What do you want to be?
Healthcare is one area of the job market where great employment opportunities will continue for years.
The 300 million people living in this country will all need healthcare services at various times throughout their lives. One of the most in-demand career opportunities in the healthcare field today is the practice of pharmacy.
Pharmacy is much more than just putting pills in a prescription bottle. Did you know that pharmacists are involved in genetic research creating new, safer, more effective medications?
Pediatric pharmacists specialize in the individual medication needs of newborn babies all the way up to teenagers. Our growing senior citizen population depends on the services of geriatric consultant pharmacists every day.
Nuclear pharmacists prepare radioisotopes for diagnostic scanning devices and therapeutic agents to fight diseases. Poison control pharmacists are specially trained in the effects of toxic substances on the human body.
Veterinarian pharmacists provide medication therapies for our pets and animals of all kinds.
There are many other ways that pharmacists are serving the public, but the one we're most familiar with is our community pharmacists.
I've been a pharmacist for 4 years now, and I love what I do very, very much. This particular writing, which I have had the pleasure of being at for the last 2 years, we serve a wonderful community of very, very diverse backgrounds of patients who speak multiple languages and bring, of course, many different customs with them when they come to this pharmacy. And of course, we work together with them to overcome any barriers associated with language or ethnicity, and make sure that we can offer each and every single patient the same and the most optimal drug and information services that we can provide for them.
Pharmacists are defenders of our national health security by being healthcare's medication use experts. They have the most in-depth knowledge about a drug's chemical properties, the proper dosage for a specific individual, and the possible side effects that a patient might experience.
Pharmacists provide two primary services. They maintain and safeguard an easily accessible distribution system of medications for the public, and they consult with doctors, patients, and healthcare providers to select the best medication therapy for an individual.
In addition to filling prescriptions, many community pharmacies today provide diagnostic screening for high blood pressure, cholesterol, and medication therapy management for diseases like diabetes and asthma, among others.
Community pharmacists are true public servants. According to recent national surveys, they were ranked the most trustworthy professionals serving the community.
They're in demand all around the country, and health authorities estimate that by the year 2020, our nation will need 150,000 more pharmacists than we have today.
So, if you like to work with others, have good communication skills, enjoy math and science, and want to make a real difference in your community, pharmacy is a great career to check out.
Here are some of the different ways pharmacists are serving our nation's healthcare needs.
In the emergency department, the pharmacists are assisting us to help us with patient safety goals, to recognize medication errors, to recognize drug-drug interactions that can cause problems that put patients at risk.
And one of the big jobs that we're here to do is to speak with the patient the minute they walk in the door, find out as much information as we can about the child. Why they're here, we need to know what medications they take at home, including basic things like Tylenol and Motrin. We need to know herbal supplements, and we need to know vitamins, and also a little bit about their diet and their overall underlying medical history. Hi, I'm Janelle Hickey. I'm a pharmacist for the Children's Medical Center Solid Organ Transplant Program. We transplant kidneys, livers, and hearts in young patients. We're about to go see a young patient who received a heart transplant last week. She's preparing to go home, and so we have to do some medication teaching to make sure that the parents are prepared to give a complicated medication regimen at home. We're giving this young patient medications that suppress her immune system so that her body won't reject this foreign organ. This is why when we go in the rooms we have to wear masks, because she's very susceptible to germs. And magnesium cannot be given with each medicine that she's taking. Cellsep, very good. Patients that receive a transplant are very sensitive to the medications that we give them. We give them very potent medicines that suppress their immune system. And so we have to measure the amounts of medicine in their body to make sure they're not getting too much and it's a toxic level, or they're getting too little medicine and they may reject their organ. We also have to watch out for side effects and for drug interactions. You're great. High five. Good job.
For those who do not have health coverage, pharmacist John Connery provides a greatly needed service. In a growing number of cities around the country, medical mobile units provide the homeless and low-income families with some basic healthcare services.
So I hope we're nothing growing. Right. That's why they're going to do the lab test to follow up on this a little more, and they'll get some more information from you at that time. We just met a 40-year-old male who appeared to the homeless man that we do a project renewal and discussed his medication. And while we were discussing with him, we found out that he was taking a medication from one of his friends on the street for his actually acid reflux disease, his heartburn. And while we were discussing, we found out that it's probably not the best medication for him. So in discussing with his physician, me as a pharmacist, we determined what the best medication might be for him. And I hopefully counsel the patient on the medication, and he's happy now with the choice. We discussed the side effects, he feels comfortable taking it, and now he's taking medicine. At least he's getting from a pharmacy and not from somebody on the streets. Want to have sex with a date? And we've been on the med van for the past 4 hours. We've seen several patients, and now we're off to do go to the next site and see our next group of patients.
Pharmacist Jerome Hayes works for a large pharmaceutical company. Most prescription drugs today are mass-produced on a mechanical production line. Pharmacists and technicians maintain the quality control of the ingredients, the compounding and packaging of these medications.
I chose to go in the pharmaceutical industry and work in specifically operations management, manufacturing, packaging, and quality assurance because I have a keen sense of what the customer is looking for. And whenever I make decisions about whether this product is good or we've had a successful production run, I always keep in mind what the consumer, what the patient is ultimately getting. Even though I'm in the industrial setting, I still serve the public. It's very critical that on a daily basis, as I'm making decisions about product quality, the safety of the product, as we write procedures, as we scale up new products, I always have to keep the public in mind. That's the ultimate objective.
Pharmacists do many different things. They're one of the few professionals licensed to work with nuclear energy.
They also assist veterinarians in caring for our animal friends, and they're just a phone call away if someone eats or drinks something that could harm them.
Winter poison control. Okay, how old is your son? And what type of bleach do you think this is?
We have an extensive computerized database that identifies a lot of products, tells us what the ingredients are, and then with our knowledge of toxicology, we can take that information and apply it to manage a particular case.
Every state has 1 or 2 regional poison control centers manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pharmacists are on call to help.
Poisoning and toxicology makes people think of antidotes. Unfortunately, there are not nearly as many antidotes as one would like. There's really a handful of them that are only used in very specific situations. So what we need to do is direct care at the symptoms we're seeing or the symptoms we're going to expect.
If he throws up more than once, you're going to want to give us a call back. You can wipe his mouth out with some water and a wet washcloth and give him either some water to drink or some milk. You're going to want to watch him for an hour. Make sure he doesn't take a nap.
Special drugs to fight diseases are not prescribed exclusively for humans.
I have always had a love of animals. My background, of course, is horses and dogs and cats. I think if you perused our shelves, you will find quite a few human pharmaceuticals there, and it surprises people when they come through the pharmacy to see, oh, well, I've taken that, or my son or daughter has taken that. We primarily work on individual animals, a one-on-one case. One of the primary differences between a human pharmacy and a veterinary pharmacy is customizing the doses to fit the smaller animals. The human drugs and the other drugs that we use are not made for the small kittens and little puppies and gerbils and snakes and things that we do see in here. So we do quite a bit of customization or compounding of dosage units for these animals.
Doctors would not be able to use diagnostic scanning devices to detect possible problems in patients' bodies without the radioisotopes that nuclear pharmacists prepare.
In nuclear medicine, we use such small amounts of radioactivity. In actuality, when you compare it to, say, things like flying in an airplane, in a lot of cases you get more exposure flying in an airplane from radiation from the sun than you do from some of the products that we handle. Nuclear medicine or nuclear pharmacy-based products can actually be used for diagnostic imaging, where we're looking at function of organs and perfusion to particular organs in the body. And so we're going to use our tracers to actually map that. And by simply injecting them into the patient, we can see how they move through the body. And from that, generate an image that we can actually get some information about the function of that particular patient's organs. We have other types of nuclear medicine procedures, which we call PET imaging, where we're actually doing a little bit more in-depth compounding and production of material. We actually have to use a cyclotron to produce the radioactivity, which then we manipulate into a form that's usable in a patient, and then we can actually inject it into a patient and we see more metabolic type of imaging or actual function.
As patients age, their bodies have less ability to tolerate the multiple prescription drugs that they are taking. Consulting pharmacists like Armin Neal work with the elderly and their doctors to select and monitor the best drug therapy for them.
Anywhere you want to go, there's old people. And everywhere you want to go, they need help, and they need help with their drug therapy. And you're the consultant pharmacists are the ones with the answers and the tools to make those things happen for them. And that's really my blood chemistry. You look at the blood chemistry of the patient, and you can, from that you can take and calculate out the drug doses that they're supposed to have. Just because they're 85 years old doesn't mean that they've got to go home and sit down and twiddle their thumbs. They can still be an active and useful person in the community if their drug therapy is managed right for their chronic disease state.
With a background in pharmacy, one can pursue genetic research. develop medications for individual patients that are more effective and have fewer side effects.
We are involved in pharmacogenetic research to understand the genetic basis for why people differ in their response to drugs. So our research here is funded by the National Institutes of Health, and we have a large pharmacogenetic study going on, and we've enrolled patients. We've got now 1,000 patients who have been diagnosed with depression, and they've been prescribed an antidepressant, and we're taking indicators of how they're responding to these antidepressants. And at the end of the day, we've also taken a blood sample in which we can determine their genes. And we can have a look at their genes. And so we're going to relate their genetic variants to the way they respond or don't respond to these antidepressants. And our hope ultimately is to develop more individualized drug therapies so that people don't have to take a compound that may cause them to have an adverse drug effect. That they don't have to take a compound that may be useless. They get to take a compound which will be appropriate for them as individuals based on their genetic makeup and also based on other factors like the environment that they live in, the food that they eat, dietary interactions, etc.
Many other career paths are available once you've earned your pharmacy degree, and all provide vital services for the public.
To become a successful pharmacy student, one must have or be willing to develop certain necessary qualities.
What's the relationship among
Honesty, integrity, and a sincere desire to help people are fundamentals of the practice. So are strong math and science skills, the ability to communicate well, and paying attention to important details.
There are about 90 colleges of pharmacy in the United States. Most of them offer a 4-year pharmacy degree program after you've completed 2 years of prerequisite courses. About 15 schools of pharmacy offer a 6-year PharmD program that begins with freshman year, right after graduation from high school.
Let's hear what several pharmacy students have to say.
The thing that interests me was a secure job. Every graduate's got 4 to 5 job offers coming out of school. And I want a job that won't break my back. And then I can, if I'm 70 years old and I still want to work, it won't be a problem to me.
The flexibility is a very important factor, and for me, family is of utmost importance, and I want to be able to have a family one day and spend time with my children. So for a while, I want to work full-time and have patient interaction and the clinical interactions that now, as pharmacists, we can do. But also, in the same sense, I can still work part-time and have children and make a decent salary.
Well, I was interested in pharmacy because of the opportunities available. You can go into community pharmacy law, you work in hospital, you can work in industry, you can do research, and you pretty much control your own path the whole time you're having a degree.
What's important to remember is that the profession of pharmacy has a good employment outlook for the future.
Pharmacists earn very good salaries.
You'll find flexible work hours and good working conditions.
You can find employment all over the country.
If you like a challenge and variety, there's a steady flow of new information to integrate, new technologies to learn, and patients of all kinds to work with.
And you'll also be respected in the community as a licensed healthcare professional, someone who makes a difference in the quality of other people's lives.
Well, that's a wrap for us. So, Noemi, when's your next project?
Well, not until next week.
Yeah, I've got some auditions next week, but no work until the end of the month.
It's the way it goes in this business. So, how are your math and science skills?
I think I need some tutoring. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
A 1-hour version of Pharmacists, Unsung Heroes, and more information about educational paths and careers in pharmacy are available at our website.
So we could watch the 1-hour version too. So as you can see, there are some things that are a little dated in there. One of them that they listed is there were 90 schools of pharmacy in the country, and now there's about 140. When that was made 10 years ago, there was a huge shortage of pharmacists, so the pharmacy schools are like, well, we'll open a pharmacy school, graduate some more, and now there's probably an oversupply of pharmacists in the big cities. In the more rural areas like Wausau, there's still a strong demand. All right, so with me today I have Jonathan and Michael. Michael graduated from University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Pharmacy a year ago and is working at Aspirus Wausau Hospital as a resident. And Jonathan is in his last year at the School of Pharmacy. So I'll start with Mike and tell us what a resident is.
Oh, sure. So a resident, a lot of my friends, even my own family, think a resident means I'm still a student, but I'm not. A resident is a licensed pharmacist who's choosing to go into residency to kind of bridge that gap between graduating school and practicing in a complicated health system that's usually a hospital. So I am a licensed pharmacist, but I'm training every day, and I generally have some sort of supervision, preceptor, or some sort of supervisor. And there's lots of projects, lots of projects.
And presentations. And Jonathan, tell us about the whole, how you get into pharmacy school, what kind of classes, how many years, all that good stuff.
So depending on what pharmacy school you go to, it's going to be a little different. In my case, I'm at UW-Madison. They don't require an undergraduate degree, so depending on how ambitious you are, or how you want to go about things, it kind of depends. In my case, UW School of Pharmacy gives you kind of like a list of prerequisites, which is courses that they require before you can apply to the school. So I did that, and then as soon as I did that in 3 years, applied into pharmacy school. I did not get an undergraduate degree, and then I was accepted into pharmacy school. From there, so I did 3 years of undergrad. I'm in my 4th year of pharmacy school now, so this is my 7th year of school. From here, at that point, I'll be looking to get a job or also applying for residencies as well, so it depends on kind of what route you want to go into.
So according to the UW statistics, half of their students earn a 4-year degree before they start pharmacy school, which is another 4 years. So pharmacy school is a bit of a long haul, maybe, but we think it couldn't be worth it.
Could you go to, let's say, UW Eau Claire and then transfer?
Yes.
So you could, as long as you meet those requirements.
Yes, and we've had a number of students who went to the UW Marathon County campus, which, whatever they're called now, Stevens Point, Wausau location. So there have been a number of people in our department that's where they started. So they were Wausau natives and wanted to come back to Wausau, but were able to do their first few years locally and then transfer.